Welcome everyone to an episode of the Old Timers Comic Book Show, where the hosts aren't old, despite all my grey hair, but the comics most certainly are. And joining me for this Tainted Love episode, we have the Professor and the 13th Crusader. Jen.
Hey, it's gray hair on no hair. You know, hey.
I only have 13 gray hairs on my chinny chin chin. That's it.
And that's it. There's that. Is that the only hair on your entire body? 13 hairs on your chin, chin, chin.
Oh no, I still have my full set of hair.
Yeah, okay, cool. Nah.
I don't have a man bun. If you're wondering, I don't have a man bun.
I almost had a man bun earlier. Got to be honest. I almost ponied up, as the kids may say.
I have hair envy.
Oh, well, you know what they say about fashion. It's hair today, gone tomorrow.
Exactly.
Yes, it's that type of show. Right, okay, so we have some unfinished business to attend to. Last time around, I offered up the prize of a lifetime. Someone's lifetime. Batman comic we talked about with the Mike set cover from 10 Nights of the Beast, as well as the Incredible Hulk 300 special that I managed to pick up in a local second-hand store here in Redcar in the northeast of England. I said whoever tweeted the show would go into a randomizer and the winner would be selected live on the show. So here we are. Vanessa at Embrace Your Ways. Twitter has you down at San Antonio, Texas. Expect a DM from me later on to get your address details so we can get your certificate and the comics sent over to you post haste. Well done, Vanessa. And thank you for checking out the show. I know you tweet on both the UCPN as well as the Old Timers Comic Book Show Twitter. So thank you so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Cool. Excellent.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Muy bien.
Muy bien. Muchas gracias. All right. Okay. So we are now in our Tainted Love.
Oh, wait. I think that's what you were waiting for, right?
Yeah, it was. Oh, you're killing me. Oh, man. Sings and dances, everyone. The Professor. Hey! Oh. Oh, my stars and garters, as someone would say. Okay, so we're talking about, we did Valentine's a little while ago. This time around, everybody loves a bad guy, especially some heroes. And in comic books, there have been a couple of wonky relationships. I mean, who can forget Superman and Big Barter, eh? I mean, that's a wonky one for sure.
That, you know, Johnny, when we were talking about doing this episode, I never realized how much of like a trope the tainted love angle is in comics. We found so many different relationships. Some superheroes, multiple tainted love relationships, right?
Okay. So apart from the 5 that we're going to talk about, all right, let's have a bit of a rundown.
Sure.
Because we all know which ones we're going to talk about, so let's stick a pin in them. So let's have a bit of a rundown. Who kind of are a tainted love and didn't make the list for the show? Professor, we'll start with yourself. Give us one of yours.
So the biggest one that I was thinking of that we didn't even talk about, Green Lantern and Starfire.
Mm-hmm.
I know it. I went DC. Sorry, but
that's a DC shirt, so you know. It's like,
hey, Flash on today.
It's like you bought the DC Universe app. That's what's going on there. That came free.
Yeah. Green Lantern, Star Sapphire didn't make the list, and I don't even think we discussed them. So
the problem with Green Lantern, I think, his tainted love isn't actually Star Sapphire. It's what's her name? Is it Arisa? Is that what I'm thinking of? 13?
Arisa was a Green Lantern, and she a very young one at that.
But didn't she use her ring to age herself?
Mm-hmm.
That was a tainted love.
She was still a good guy, though. I mean, like,
Yeah, I suppose.
she wasn't a villain that, kind of when you have to think about it. But even though
Okay.
Carol Ferris was a love interest before she became a villain, so
Okay.
I don't
Cool.
know
I'll give
if
you that one. No, it's fine. Yeah, that's a good shout. Green Lantern, we didn't even think about that one. 13th, you got one?
I think we spoke about one last episode with Beast Boy and Terra.
Oh yeah. Look at that
that's
one.
a good one. Yeah, cool.
He was totally caught off guard, and but he went in with the best of intentions, and didn't quite work out so well.
Bless his cotton little socks. I've got one for you. Are you ready?
Sure.
Scott Summers and the White Queen.
Oh, well.
Was she a good guy back then when she turned?
When they got involved, she was a member of the X-Men. She wasn't. It wasn't like that was like a forbidden fruit type of relationship.
Yeah,
I think it was a matter of consequence in the situation at the time.
Wow, you could do Scott and Phoenix, Scott and Madeline Pryor, Scott and White Queen.
Right.
Yeah. Scott's a manslut. That's his mutant power. I've got to think of another one now. Then you guys talk amongst yourselves for 2 seconds. I've just
well, the obvious one that didn't make the list was Batman and Catwoman.
Well, see, yeah. Why we didn't go there at all?
I think it's just so obvious. Batman and Catwoman would be like the number one. So I think we wanted to talk about other, like, maybe less obvious relationships, I think.
That's a good shout.
So
13, any more from you?
I guess it depends on your perspective, right? We said heroes, but what about a villain? Like in Thanos' case with his love interest in death, that's another level. Yeah. So her love, in a weird way, it was just shown in a weird way. He even died for her once, and how did that work out? She didn't bring him back until later on.
Hell hath no fury like a comic creation scorned, it seems. I'm really struggling after.
How about Sue Storm and Namor? Although it's not a relationship, but
that's a shout. I like that one. How about? I'm not sure if it's in the remit of our show, but how about Norman Osborn and Gwen Stacy?
God damn you, Machine! I'm out of here.
That's the relationship that did it happen or didn't it happen? Depending on what kind of continuity you want to follow. 13 chooses not to acknowledge that ever happened.
Yeah, true.
It's a crime.
Captain Britain and Saturn 9. There you go. There's a one from the past.
Is Saturnine, she a villain?
Yeah, she's got that kind of like, I've got more going on than you need to know about sort of vibe, hasn't she?
Yeah.
She's not as good as Merlin, so she's always up to her shenanigans, I suppose.
How about if we throw in the Wasp and Yellow Jacket?
See, I thought about that one. I did think about that, but at the time he was a good guy. He just had like some bad stuff happen, I suppose.
Mentally ill type character. But as far as Hank Pym goes, I would definitely. Yeah, you could throw him on the list because it is kind of like a, he's a hero, he's a villain.
Daredevil and Elektra is another one.
Daredevil and Elektra, that's a shout. We didn't even think of that one either.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you dig enough, you could find one of these relationships in just about every comic, really. I was killing myself trying to think of a Flash tainted love for
the he's too good guy. Such a good guy. All right, okay, so those are the also rans. We have 5 books this time around, not just 3. We're going to talk 5s. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about the relationship involved in these, and we're going to use one of the issues to kind of, I suppose, bring that into focus. Make sense for everybody? Yeah, cool. So we're going to start off with Professor. I think this is your choice, if I am correct.
Yeah, this is the two choices I have this week. So yeah, we're gonna look at Iron Man, and this is issue number 104, which just kind of puts a spotlight on their relationship. Madame Mask and Iron Man started a relationship way back in the early run of Iron Man, and then Madame Mask at the time decided that she loved Jasper Sitwell, who is on the right hand side of the cover there, the Shield agent that at the time was appointed Tony Stark's handler through Shield, and so he doubled as a bodyguard, etc. And then ended up having a relationship with Madame Mask, and then over time it just kind of ran its steam and kind of got written out after Madame Mask became a villain proper for Marvel. And Madame Mask had very few appearances between then and this story, and everybody can remember arch villain of Iron Man, Midas, right? No, neither do I. So
I think of Midas the auto repair place, but
Midas is a very forgettable villain, and in this storyline takes over Stark International with the help of Madame Mask. So Madame Mask is actually working for Midas, but then midstream switches her allegiance when she realizes that she's still in love with Tony. So in this issue is where they realize the love they have for each other, but who else notices that they have a love for each other is poor old Jasper Sitwell.
Tainted love.
So this is what we don't see a lot of, and this is a pick, and I made this. I made this pick just so we could show the middle panel on this page is the sanitized kiss between Madame Mask and Iron Man, fully protected. I thought it's probably the funniest prophylactic picture I've ever seen in comics. It's the funniest kiss for sure. But we don't see a lot of love triangles, right? Because Madame Mask has feelings for Jasper and for Tony, and here it's obvious that Madame Mask has picked Tony, and it doesn't sit well with Jasper.
Did you do that on purpose? It didn't sit well with Jasper.
Oh no, that was totally by accident, but hilarious.
Well done, Professor.
and that is a joke straight from the 13th Crusader handbook of how to drop a line.
Well done, Professor. Well done.
Thank you very much. So yeah, I mean this storyline continues. This is like I think a 4-parter, and I couldn't believe that Midas stuck around for that long because look, the dude's a fat guy with a toga, and he doesn't turn things to gold. I don't know why he's called Midas.
Because Maxi Zeus was taken.
But I guess so. But he at this point he owns Stark International, and you have some side characters too, like they just showed Guardian. The hardest character to draw in the Marvel Universe is on the last page, Jack of Hearts.
See, now you're just kind of...
Yeah, you want to just... There you go.
Oh, there you go. That is...
It's the hardest costume to draw.
No wonder you got killed, Sharpish. All right,
well, they changed his costume in the 90s and then got rid of him because he just stopped being interesting. He's not interesting when he doesn't look like a playing card.
Yeah.
So,
oh my God.
But anyway, what did you guys think about? Did you actually read the issue or?
Yeah, of course I read the issue.
This run of Iron Man is, this is back when Iron Man is a straight up B-level Marvel character.
Yeah,
he's not A-list, so
you can tell that definitely
for sure.
Let's give some credits out before we hear from the 13th.
Oh yeah,
it's written by Bill Mantlo, art by George Tusker, inks by Mike Esposito, colors are by Russo. Because that's how it's put
George Russo, yeah.
Thank you. And letters are by Patterson. I'm not sure which Patterson that would be. If I give me 2 seconds, I can try and find out for you. 13th, what did you think of this book?
Yeah, I got to agree exactly with what you guys said, that at this point in time, as with some of the Avengers books, the Avengers was really a flagship book, whereas their individual books didn't kind of hold up to the team book.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, Iron Man books, sadly to say, were somewhat dull. And as far as Whitney Frost, no relation to Emma Frost, I found her to be kind of an intriguing character here and there, but I think she just wasn't given too much of a spotlight throughout time. I think if she were given more of a spotlight, I think this would have been more interesting. Funny moments in this comic for sure, as the professor pointed out. Um, yeah, I mean, this is just a typical run-of-the-mill Iron Man book from back then that I think didn't get that much attention as it deserved.
Do you think when Gil Kane was drawing this page, I mean, what could they have been thinking?
It's
I
just
mean,
I just don't get it.
Hey, you
It's
know what?
like,
To their credit, they almost got it right towards the end of the book.
well, I mean, obviously, what they're thinking is Jasper's looking at us through the window, so we can't have Iron Man have his helmet off because Jasper doesn't know that Iron Man's Tony Stark, right?
Right.
So that's why he has the helmet on. But if you just turn back like a page, Madame Mask was putting the mask on page 1, I think.
yeah.
So obviously they had their relations prior to the beginning of this issue, and neither of them had their armor on, so to speak.
Right. They were recharging.
This is becoming. I know.
I can't believe we're getting so many innuendos out of an Iron Man story.
Hey, there
we go. Cool. Yeah, I think for me, I absolutely agree. I think Iron Man of this era doesn't stack up particularly well, and I think 13's quite correct in that a lot of the Avengers solo books didn't stack up very well. However, we're not that far away from the Armor Wars. So
Right.
this book comes out. Oh, well, we might as well. This book came out in '77. Iron Man for me didn't become interesting until Tony Stark had a drinking problem, and the Armor Wars came out, which would be something like 10 years later.
Yeah, but people taking over Tony Stark's corporation or anything like that is certainly nothing new, and you'll learn that in this issue. It's been a trope for Iron Man, and the same thing with someone overtaking the use or his technology, for that matter. So, my interest in Iron Man didn't really come about until he fought the Chessmen, for anyone who remembers that, in the 80s, and then shortly after that, you had the Armor Wars and what have you, and the Ironmonger. To me, that's when like the issue 200s of Iron Man to me were much more appealing. Like this issue here, the only thing I honestly was appealed with this era of Iron Man really was Madame Mask.
Yeah, I would say.
I was confused. I've got to be honest, because when I looked through this book, I'm not a huge Iron Man aficionado. And when I saw her, I thought it was Warbird at one point. I was like, "Whoa, she looks like Warbird from Miss Marvel," and then the X-Men, of course. So
yeah.
So the thing that I would say to remember about Marvel at this point in time. So this is late 1977. This is pretty much while Marvel was still kind of almost like a rudderless ship. The editors were not really editing that much. Some of the writers on the comics. Jack Kirby was at Marvel at this time with nobody editing his stuff. He was just publishing stuff, and Archie Goodwin was just kind of checking off the boxes. Well, Jack got his work in, but he's not changing shit. So, but I mean, that's where I think where the quality comes in, is because for the Marvel was very hit or miss here in late 1977. Couple of good books. Avengers was good, but Captain America was terrible. Fantastic Four was god awful. And Spider-Man was okay, but the rest of the line was really suffering at this point. And Iron Man, I mean, this just kind of goes to show you, this is right before they put Shooter in it as editor-in-chief. Like probably within a year, Jim Shooter takes the reins, and then all the books get back on track. So, but this here you can see the problems that Marvel's having in late '77. So.
Definitely. All right, so there you go. There's one Tainted Love.
Whoa! Oh,
Oh, sorry, it was 13's time. It was 13's turn.
All right, okay, so that's one down. We've got a couple more to go. I think one of the books we're going to talk about, we've kind of led on to an extent previously. We're going to go next up, I believe, 13th. This one is your choice, is it not? And
si,
it
senor.
is the Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man number 75. Let me do the credits. Bill Mantlo is the
Again.
writer. Yeah, I
Mhm.
mean it was Mr. Marvel, wasn't he? For ages.
He was writing everything.
Al Milgram's on breakdowns with inks by Jim Mooney. Both of those names we've heard a lot of recently from previous pods. Joe Rosen's on letters and Bob Sharon's on colors. So this is pretty much the dream team of Marvel of this time.
Mhm.
All right, 13th. This is your choice. Why don't you take it away, sir?
Yeah, back in this time, I was a young kid, and my first exposure to Marvel really was the Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man title.
Mm-hmm.
So only a couple of issues prior to this, and then some amazing Spider-Man issues as well. And within those pages, you would have learned that he was going around town with the Black Cat, who was a known cat burglar, no pun intended. But somehow they hit it off. And I specifically remember owning issue 227, where they kind of had a, when they they kind of had a disagreement, and he webbed her, and she fell into the river, and that was the last you would think you'd see of her. So I remember that. I'm like, I have to know what happens to her, because in the earlier pages of Spectacular Spider-Man, I actually liked Black Cat a lot. I like that dynamic, that she challenged Spider-Man in his beliefs and everything like that, and that just because I'm stealing stuff doesn't make me a super bad person. It just means I have a problem. Peter Parker,
Just because I kill people doesn't mean
exactly.
I'm not a bad
Well,
guy. I just got a problem.
exactly, but with she went to the wrong person if you think about it, because Spider-Man is like probably one of the most insecure superheroes there is. This
Yeah.
guy can't make up his mind. I mean, look at all the women he was involved with. The fact that Black Cat comes back in this issue and says, "Hey, here I am," and then he's like, "Wow, I'm great. This is great to see you," and everything like that. You can actually pause and think about Mary Jane, Gwen, and Deborah Whitman. Like, give me a break, man. And then what makes this, other than that dynamic, interesting, like how could a couple like this actually work in the superhero world? You got a major battle going on in New York City in the underworld, right? You have
Yeah.
kind of almost a three-way war with some of Spider-Man's deadliest enemies, never mind other heroes, but with Doc Ock, Dr. Octopus, the Owl, and the Kingpin. So in this era, these guys were pretty much like, wow, this is like, Spider-Man has had his individual run-ins with these guys, and there have been some epic comic book pages that have come out of that, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But here they are, all against each other, and then you have this relationship that's kind of in the way of that three-way war.
Yeah.
So this is what sold me with Marvel. Like, this is how Marvel dragged me in, really, with this era of Spider-Man. And I just had to learn more. And I'm like, yeah, Dr. Octopus, the Owl, yeah, corny names, but I never thought the Kingpin was a joke. But I just liked the Black Cat. She just kind of loosened things up, if you will, from the typical Spider-Man story. Spider-Man had his trauma. He met perhaps the girl of his dreams in Mary Jane. She said no to him when he tried to propose to her. So here he is, and here comes the Black Cat, and he's like, wow, someone who can actually hang with me on the superhero side.
Yeah.
But the tainted love was that she didn't love, Black Cat did not love Peter Parker. She loved Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the tainted love. And then she was set in her ways, at least at this point in time. But phenomenal book to have. It all comes together here. Great battle scenes, not just with Spider-Man and Black Cat, but just with the villains themselves, the way that they interact and what have you. It's a great script. I mean, what can I say? I mean, Bill Mantlow's name is just synonymous with greatness here. And Al Milgrom, I love his art more on Thor, what his work on Thor than I do anywhere else. But for this era of Spider-Man, I absolutely dig it. So awesome book, definitely to have in your collection, no doubt.
And this is 1983.
Yep.
So let me just I missed out prices. So just jump back one. Iron Man you can get from anywhere between £6 to £195. This book is a tenner.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 1983, so it's a bit younger than the Iron Man book. But we said it before. We've said Spectacular Spider-Man was the thinking man's Spider-Man book of choice.
Right.
And the convoluted storyline here, where you've got the three different crime lords coming together, pretty much epitomizes that. Professor, are you a Spec Spidey fan?
Didn't start out as one. When I first started collecting, I was collecting Amazing and got a Peter Parker here and there as my allowance allowed. But anyway,
Whoa.
That's a tainted love. That's a tainted love for you, isn't it? Comic allowance and wallet versus comic book output. Oh, that is a tainted love.
there's some regrets I had in there. So this book, I never read this before, this issue.
Really?
Yeah, I kind of thought in this particular issue that that Doc Ock kind of got chumped out at the end. I mean, they try to make him this big villain, but I've seen him be way more villainous before.
Agreed.
And I think that Spidey and Black Cat took him out fairly easily and like ripped his arms off. Like it was almost a decisive loss on Doc's part, which I wasn't really used to seeing. So as far as the Felicia Peter relationship, now was Peter dating Felicia but didn't know she was Black Cat?
No, I think it was always Spider and Cat.
Correct.
Well, if you go back when they showed the faces, when he was thinking about Mary Jane and Gwen and Deborah Richmond.
Deborah who?
Well, I don't know. Deborah Whitman.
Whitman. I was going to say,
Right.
don't get his true love wrong.
Sorry, she was the most forgettable. So,
I can remove you from this pod. Oh, look, there you are.
He says, so I really care about Felicia. So I didn't know. So he knows that she's Felicia.
Yeah,
he figured out that who she was underneath the mask.
But does she know that he's Peter?
No, not yet.
Right.
Okay. So that's kind of the bump in the road I had on that issue. Yeah. But I was kind of thinking that it was going to be like almost a reverse, Clark Kent Superman thing where he was dating Felicia but didn't know she was Black Cat. I thought that it would have been pretty funny.
That would have been cool.
If you think about it, it's a different angle, right? Because in the past, his relationships were always on the Peter Parker side, and none of them knew he was Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But now this is the opposite, where he meets someone as Spider-Man, and that's all she cares about. And again, they can go together and tackle the underworld and things. He sees that she's kind of trying to reform, if you will. She does care about him, but only as Spider-Man. So it just kind of answers that dynamic to the readers. Look, whereas Peter Parker has all this bad luck, he's met awesome women, but he's had bad luck. Here he is literally meeting someone as Spider-Man, a Black Cat, which is synonymous with
bad luck.
There you go.
So the thing with Felicia and Peter, or the Cat and Peter, it's not until Eric Larson's on Amazing Spider-Man does Felicia start to see Peter Parker for the person that he is, and that creates a whole different ballgame, whole different set of rules.
What an idiot!
Because she was dating Flash Thompson at the time. So for me, this book is fantastic. This is, when I think of Spider-Man, this is my era of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I love this. This is Spider-Man for me at his absolute best. Here, the art's a little bit wonky. I've got to say, some of those knee bends don't bend just that way.
I was gonna say, because I think Al Milgrom uses a lot of wasted Spidey shots. You said like when his feet are on the ground, it's wasted art.
I say that all the time, yeah. When we talked about like the movies and stuff. Yeah.
I was thinking about that when I read this because I'm just like,
Honestly, I'll go as far as to say that this title, specifically this title, did not get better until the Black Cat graced the pages of this title. Especially on the Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man. Amazing, there was some other things happening over there. But for this title, to me, in my opinion, strictly my opinion, I think the book took off because of her. And she would be in this title for quite some time. And I felt like this was the book I gravitated to more than Amazing Spider-Man for quite some time.
I think there's a level of I suppose I want to say grittiness, but I'm not sure if that's the right word. Gravitas, because you've got of this not long after this, you've got Cloak and Dagger introduced.
Right.
You've got like this fake Frank Miller style art drops going in there that kind of resonate with Daredevil fans. So this book takes a maturer look than Spider-Man.
Absolutely.
And I think this page kind of sums that up a little bit, because we all know Doc Ock is possibly top 2 Spider-Man villains. And when Spider-Man puts his mind to it, when his girl's in trouble, he doesn't put up with any pansy arm stuff. Look at him, he just rips them straight off him. And you think, this is Doc Ock that used to run rings around Spider-Man for like issues at a time.
Yeah.
And yet Spider gets so incensed, it's just, that's it, no mercy. He even goes after the Kingpin in this book.
Right.
He's all balls to the wall, pardon the phrase, but he is absolutely there. And I think that this is definitely, if you were a little bit older when this book came out, this is the one you would buy, not Amazing Spider-Man. You'd buy this
Absolutely. One. And I just want to throw a shout out to an unmentioned Tainted Love, which reminds me Dr. Octopus and Aunt May.
On that note.
Whoa.
Is that the very definition of a May-December romance?
I don't know, but I think she may have been happy that I think she was happy he got all his arms back.
I heard that she complained he was a bit grabby, but all right. Whilst we've reset our humor levels from something a little bit above May to December, here's an advert for one of our other shows that you will see on the UCPN. We're going on the flip side.
Let me ask you a question. Are you wanting to read a new comic book that has nothing to do with the big two? Are you tired of looking through countless titles and have no idea where to begin? Well, don't you worry, because the Random Dude Josh and Johnny the Machine Hughes has the podcast for you. Flipside Focus, only on the Undercover Capes Podcast Network.
Does remind me we should do another indie special somewhere down the line. Somewhere down the line.
Whoa.
All right. That's not that song.
Oh, wait, that wasn't my cue yet?
Yeah, no, sorry. All right, third book up is actually the Professor's Second Choice. And you know what?
Yeah.
I'm kind of on this one because I absolutely love this idea, this whole romance. Is it a romance? I'm not sure.
I think this whole idea might have legs. We might be able to do a second episode.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes. We're talking about Captain America throws his mighty shield. Number 380, written by the Professor's favorite comic book person, Bar Stan Lee and Mark Grunwald, by Ron
Absolutely.
Lim. Inks by Danny Belandi, letters by Joe Rosen, colors by Shield and Bushi, whoever they both are. Right, here you go. 49 pence you can get this book for. Postage will cost you £2.25 in the UK. So, postage costs you 3.5 times more than the book's worth, allegedly. But it is the Tainted Love.
Yeah. Hey, you know what?
Captain Diamondback.
Who would have thought that Captain America would have a tainted love story in this episode?
Oh.
Hmm.
Well, to be fair, I think he's a dirty dog anyway. I mean, he fancies Peggy Carter and then bang Sharon. I mean, come on. That's like, I mean, I've heard about keeping it in the family, but come on.
Hey.
All right,
So,
Professor, take it away.
well, this actually combined a couple of great things. Mark Gruenwald's run on Captain America, which his 10-year run, I think, is unequaled. Certainly in Captain America, no one's been able to do a better run, I think. And then my favorite villain group of all time, in the Serpent Society, I think the Serpent Society, as much as like not really being sinister, like I give that to the Masters of Evil. Like the Masters of Evil actually made me kind of be afraid for the heroes. The Serpent Society was kind of just like a club, and we all had these snake fetish. And I thought that I thought the character models were actually pretty good. I loved what Grunwald did throughout his run, and they had a couple of almost like a serpent war almost between Sidewinder and his serpent people, and the Serpent Society with King Cobra, formerly known as Cobra, who just decided he wanted to be better. King gave himself more of a hood. I thought that was cool. But I loved this dynamic because it's kind of like almost like didn't mean to happen, right? You had Diamondback almost like just kind of become attracted to Captain America just because he was such a He-Man type character, right? So Diamondback put the moves on him, and hey, Steve went for it, because who wouldn't? But the cool thing about
I've got a girl dressed in skin tight pink latex who's throwing herself at me. Should I go for her or not? I'm not saying.
Well, this issue in particular was my pick because the whole Diamondback Steve relationship came to a head, and they don't even appear in a same panel together on this issue because the Serpent Society finds out that Diamondback has been seeing Cap in a romantical type situation and puts her on trial for her life. And it kind of like, I see where the Serpent Society is coming from, hey, sleeping with the enemy. And then you put Diamondback in the situation where she has to choose between the Serpent Society or protecting Captain America. And meanwhile, Captain America, I don't even think he's in uniform in this issue. He's as Steve. He shows up at a party. They reintroduce Bernie Rosenthal, which is his former relationship. And, it kind of makes you wonder where everything's going in this issue. By the end of this issue, Diamondback has lost the trial for her life, and she's about to be executed by the Serpent Society, and Sidewinder shows up and teleports her away, kicking off I want to call it the Serpent War, but I can't remember what it was called. But it was the two teams of the Serpent Society going up against each other, which, again, I thought was just a cool idea. And if you look back at the jury of or the cover, look at the cover. Come on, don't those serpent characters look really cool? I think
great.
Ron Lim did a great job at creating a bunch of these guys. Except for Cottonmouth, he's the second one from the right. What's that yellow cross down there by his crotch? I don't know. But
maybe that's where he keeps his first aid kit.
Maybe.
Yeah.
No comment.
So I loved this relationship when I was reading Captain America for the first time back when I was a teenager. I really I became a fan of Diamondback because of the whole villain turned reluctant hero almost aspect of it. And she's never actually went back to total villainy, right? Wasn't she a side character in the recent Domino?
She was by Gail Simone. Yeah, she was definitely one of the gang. Of course, Gail Simone's minding that whole Birds of Prey troop a little bit, maybe to get that through. But I like Diamondback. I agree with you on this one, Professor. I was reading Captain America from the Drug War issues. And I read it all the way up to just past when Diamondback drops out, and
Yeah.
I was done because I was reading the book for her more than I was reading it for Cap.
And I think Ron Lim hits his stride in Captain America and Silver Surfer at the same time, right? Because he jumps off of this and jumps into Infinity Gauntlet, right? And that's where he becomes like a superstar.
I prefer his work on Surfer.
Oh well, I think they're both excellent, and I like his work here.
I think sometimes his Cap can be a little bit too square, a little bit too blocky. That said, you know, he's got cheesecake going on there with what I don't know what the girl's called, sat on the King Cobra's knee. I was like, what's going on there?
Coach Whip.
Oh, okay, thank you. And of course, you've got, hey, what's a good comic about a bondage scene or two, right? Okay, cool. Forget, we should be talking about Wonder Woman. All right, 13th, Captain America and Diamondback. Are they a tainted love, or is there a snake in their grass?
Ooh,
there's definitely a snake involved. That's a fact.
Yeah, that's what she said.
Whatever you want, exactly.
Yeah. That's what she did.
Exactly. So, just a couple things. You know, again, you guys know this very well that I absolutely love Ron Lim's artistic career, and I always forget that he dabbled in the Cap books, and this was a very good reminder for me, and a pleasure really in reading this to see how I just like his perspective here and how he captured certain things. How he drew Diamondback in here really got my attention, as well as the rest of the Serpent Society. However, as they were taking the vote in the book, you'd see that there was 4 for innocent, 7 for guilty, but the cover would tell you otherwise. So where everybody voted no, just notice that. Everybody was a snake in the grass, if you will. You could get all the snake puns going, but one thing that's cool is King Cobra is actually a very good malt liquor. Do you guys ever want to try that out? But yeah, no, I to Bud's point earlier, I do agree with the Serpent Society. I just think that in this era, actually the 80s, right, where they were featured here and there, and there were various members. Obviously, you know, Cap stumbled onto the Serpent Society. It was tough for him to handle on his own. Later on, you see them interacting against other heroes and whatnot. I kind of wish they had like their own run in the 80s. You know, I think that this was a strong villain group that they could have pulled it off. Like here in this issue, maybe would have been a good proof positive to kind of support that, where you see Grunwald applying some level of personality to a vast group of villains, especially with Cobra, especially with Diamondback. You know, even I already forget who was defending her, but Asp, right? So again,
Black
like
Mamba, yeah,
and right, exactly right. So you're like, okay, now you're seeing things from the villain side, and even though they're villains, they have some weird, twisted sense of justice where they hold an actual trial. They're actually talking like judge and jury. They appointed lawyers, so they have rules within their society. So that was something interesting how that worked out. Where in the Masters of Evil, as you mentioned before, it was Zemo's way or that's it, or you're out. I thought this was a very good issue, and yeah, it's definitely a tainted love. I think more from Diamondback's side than it is for Cap, because she was stuck between a rock and a hard place. You know, it sounded like from this issue that, oh man, you know, I had to do stuff and they were able to help me and they kind of became my family, but now I feel like I'm betraying them. But these are my feelings and this is how I feel. And she was attracted to Captain America, right? Who's supposed to be this ultimate picture of goodness and honor. And, you know, that was from her perspective, maybe a tainted love rather than from Cap to her.
Yeah.
Cap's a snake in the grass here by talking with Bernie again, but son of a bitch. While Diamondback's being about seconds away from lethal injection, he's there talking with his ex-girlfriend. He's son of a bitch, Captain.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's like he knows he has feelings for Diamondback because he doesn't do anything with the still friends, and that was pretty much
exactly. He didn't say anything to Bernie about Diamondback. That's why he's a son of a, you know what, son of a salamander. There you go.
He was just keeping his options open.
He was not doing any of that. He says in his thought bubble, which I miss, put Thobbles back in comics, that he should tell Bernie about Rachel. He says that in his head, but it just doesn't come up as a conversation. So, and then he doesn't actually go through with anything with Bernie. So why is there's there's no
But
need.
he asked her a question. What happened to that guy that you were living with?
Well, that's just common. That's just courtesy.
I will
Just because I ask, are we having pizza tonight? Doesn't mean that I'm stepping out on cheeseburgers.
So I just want to say that this era of Captain America, the Serpent Society, always left me wanting more. I never got sick of them. So
yeah,
that's where I kind of agree with you. 13. They should have had a run. Maybe a limited series or something where they could flesh them out a little bit more.
no doubt about it.
Yeah.
All right. So next up is another one of 13's choices. We've talked about the Bat and the Cat, but when it comes to good old pointy ears, there is one relationship that is always going to get some attention. This time around, it is Batman and Talia al Ghul in the seminal classic Batman, Son of the Demon. This is written by Mike Barr, art by Jerry Bingham, even, and letters by John Costanza. It costs around 14 whole English pounds, and it came out a cover date of 1987. So there you go. Wow. 13th, take it away.
Well, as a Batman fan, this is a definite must-have. And if you're interested in the lives of the Al Ghuls, you definitely want to get the trilogy, right? The Birth of the Demon, Son of the Demon, and Bride of the Demon. But in this particular book, you get a first-hand look at the culmination of Talia's and Batman's relationship status at this point in time. So in reading this now, it's like you have to put everything that has happened in the modern times, kind of put that away and just really enjoy this book for what it is. And, back in this era when Ra's al Ghul came out, we all know that he had a warped sense of justice for the world, the League of Assassins, how he met Talia. She was absolutely head over heels for Batman, and she certainly got Batman's attention, but they were at odds, but not total enemies, I guess. And here, it just comes to a point where there's kind of a mutual reason for Batman to team up with Ra's al Ghul. And I think it's in a weird way, it was great to see how Batman easily fit in with the League of Assassins, never mind with Talia. So you almost kind of feel like, wow, is he really he's really up for this? Like he wasn't holding anything back later on with Talia. He's like, yeah, you know what? You're right. I'm not going to lie. I can't get you out of my mind or anything like that. But it's just her father was the problem. But that didn't stop Batman. That didn't stop Talia. She was still very much her own person and was able to talk to her father in a way that not many other people could. But Ra's al Ghul always had the ultimate respect for Batman because he was such a good opponent. And but in a way, they have their own sense of justice. So it's just interesting how, I mean, I like the art. I think the art fit for this story. The script is great. It may be a little long. It's a lot of pages, but you get a lot of impactful panels, great dialogue, the interaction. How Talia was drawn, especially close up here, is just legendary, in my opinion. I've always loved Talia. And, to see this happen, when I read this for the first time, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. You know what I'm saying? But it happened. And, and I guess the spoiler alert is that, something came out of that relationship.
Really?
And then it was taken away.
Was it?
And was it? Exactly. And then it was taken away again, thanks to 0 Hour, which I don't even want to mention, but I have to, I guess. And this left a lot of readers wondering, like, was this for real, or was it not, or is it going to come back? And then when it was brought back, a writer, in the name of Grant Morrison, didn't pay attention to all the details and kind of retconned the story in a way that I was like, okay, this is where we are. But again, the point is that this is where I think that the height of Batman and Talia's relationship, you'll see that in these pages. I think that's when they reach the height of their relationship in this book, and you'll see that Batman and Ra's al Ghul, just, you know, the way they team up and what have you in this, you know, war, if you will, was kind of awesome to see. They worked well together, but ultimately Batman has a different sense of justice than Ra's al Ghul. But the respect level between opponents is I guess the moral of the story here. But Talia too, not to be remiss, you know, she suffered big time in this issue because, you know, not only did she achieve that relationship level with Batman, thought she was married to him, she was pregnant with his child, and then kind of lies to him and has to live with that. It's she really suffered in this book. It's a definite must-have for Batman fans. And again, I mentioned the trilogy earlier. All three of those super high recommends, but this one definitely it has it all, in my opinion.
All right, excellent. So, Professor, have you read this before? Is this the first time you've gone through this?
This was the first time I've read this as well. It was really long. I didn't expect it to be a big fat 80-pager, but I liked it. It was good. I've never seen Jerry Bingham's art before. If I've seen, can anybody tell me anything else he's ever done?
I think
he did.
I think he's known predominantly more as an inker than an artist, off the top of my head, but I could be wrong. I'll do a quick research.
Well, he did everything in this book, even colors, right? He did pencils, inks, and colors. I think it looks amazing. I think I think it's never looked so good, really. I mean, it almost looks like watercolor, almost kind of really kind of striking when you look at it. There was a couple of there's several panels in this where the inks go from colors to just black and white, and I know that's for effect, but it kind of made it look a little unfinished for me at a couple of points. But I think the art really is probably really one of the best artists I've seen on Batman in a long time. And then this was 1987, which shocked me, because in 87 I was reading Batman. I just must have missed this issue. A couple of things that struck me is when Bruce finds out that Talia is pregnant, and he goes to great lengths to protect her from getting hurt to the point that he disregards his own body and it puts himself at risk. I've never seen him do anything like that for any of the Robins he's had.
What about his reaction when she told him that she was pregnant? How excited he was!
Yeah,
where have you ever seen that?
I'd never seen anything. So there were a couple of things here in this book that I'd never really, I wouldn't have attributed to Batman. So he actually, I want to say, slips into Bruce Wayne mode for a little bit, and to me, it was a little striking. So you know, and you've never seen him overly protect Catwoman either, right?
Nope.
So, you know, is Talia his true love?
Whoa.
Oh, and yeah, that's I don't know. So I'm interested in Johnny's opinion. There's just a couple of things that I see, but I'm honestly I'm not the Batman guy.
So the first time I read this back in the day, I was absolutely blown away by it. I think time has not served this book particularly well.
Right.
Primarily because of the way that the whole Damian Wayne thing has exploded since Batman 655 and 666. Sorry, 655 and 656, I should say. So it feels in the past, Professor, you've mentioned how DC Comics look old. For me, this is probably the most anachronistic book that DC ever put out. It's out this is out in 1987. This is 2 years before the Batman movie. It's around the same time as The Dark Knight Returns, Year One, all those sort of things. And what we have essentially is Mike Barr and Jerry Bingham pulling an Denny O'Neil and Neil's Adam style story out of their ass, you know. And it's a great story, and it's full of intrigue, and it's full of Batman doing Batman things. For me, it's 10 years too late, man. It's 10 years too late. If this had come out in the 70s, this would have been fantastic. It would have blown people's socks off. As it was, this book gets relegated to a has-been book until Grant Morrison brings Damian back.
Right.
And that's kind of the way I see this book. This book is kind of like one of those off the wall, kind of could have been books, because nobody ever mentions it. Nobody ever mentions from this point on in any Batman story. Nobody mentions how Talia lost a baby, at all. No one ever talks about it. So
or the real name of the child, or what happens, or anything.
Yeah. And Talia and Batman do meet up after this point. So you'd think there would be some level of continuity in there, but there isn't. So gives this book a kind of almost Elseworld feel that it has no impact.
If you feel like the world's greatest detective would have probably been able to detect that she was still pregnant.
Well, you know, unless he's got the pregnancy kit in his utility belt, I suppose.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, like, she hid from him for 9 months afterwards, and Aunt hid the fact that she had the baby and hid it on somebody's doorstep.
I think there are some really good bits in this. If you want, it encapsulates the whole idea of what Ra's al Ghul was when he was introduced, which was like a James Bond level villain.
Right.
And that shows throughout this, the storming of the mountain camp and all that. It shows that within this story. And I think it's a decade too late from a publishing point of view.
I absolutely agree with what you said, that time hasn't been too kind to the Al Ghuls at all.
Yeah.
And Damian just, again, I feel like certain things from here were mined. There's no doubt about it. Definitely. But I don't think it gets the recognition it deserves. You were absolutely 1,000% correct on that.
Cool. Excellent. So there you go. That's number 2 in our rundown. So that leaves the top 1 for our Tainted Love. I will say, I'm saying that jokingly. These are just the top 5. They're not in any particular order of Tainted Loves. Although when it comes to love that should be tainted, this book is absolutely 100% up there. And if anybody can tell me why this is a good book, I would listen to your arguments and turn a deaf ear in the quickest way I could possibly do. But we're talking about love affairs going wrong, love affair with bad guys. So we'll go on with my choice. There you go. Everyone's going to start booing now. It's Avengers 200.
Boo.
Boo. Pricing.
Boo.
Oh, no.
If you want to buy this book, it's £3.99 up to 25 whole pounds. The plot is by Jim Shooter, George Perez, Bob Layton, and David. I always say his name wrong. So
Michaelini.
Michaelini. I like how everyone gets blamed for the plot, so that way it protects the guilty. It's written by David Michelinie, or Liney, art by George Perez and Dan Green, letters by John Constanza, and colours by Ben Sean. Right. I've only got one line to say on this. Why is this a Tainted Love book? I'll tell you why. Carol gets roofied, that's Carol Danvers, gets roofied by her own son. Case closed. This is Tainted Love. Professor, anything to add?
I have a lot to add about this book. I mean, this is probably the greatest travesty in print that Marvel has ever done. It single-handedly, in the course of a double-sized issue, ruined a character for how many decades before they ever brought her back, and have kind of swept it under the rug. No one ever talks about this issue anymore unless it's the bad stuff. This is the kind of this is the kind of writing in that would have gotten Marvel Comics canceled if it were published out today.
Yeah.
It's atrocious when you get through it. They did their best to kind of make it a story. But what happens in this book is so bad that that's all anybody remembers. Nobody remembers the whole time thing and dinosaurs coming in, which was actually pretty cool if you're looking at how, like, the stuff that they were fighting. There's some good character moments in this, but nobody ever remembers anything except the relationship that happens here. And basically what it is Immortus, who is a character that lives in limbo, rules limbo, wanted to exist outside of limbo. So sucks or abducts Carol, brings her to limbo, seduces her, impregnates her with his seed, which actually is himself, sends her back, wipes her memory, sends her back. She goes through a 7-day or 9-day pregnancy, has the baby. The baby ages at a fantastical rate. And to give Carol a little bit of credit at the beginning of the story, she's horrified that someone used her to get her pregnant, and she doesn't want to have anything to do with the baby, which, what you kind of would follow it and kind of agree with her until later on, where I would contest that she's probably still a little bit under the mind control of said Immortus. But you turn out that she gave birth to her son, who actually is Marcus or Immortus, same character. And so she's his mother. She's also his lover. It's really a strange thing. The biggest thing is she decides she wants to go back with him to limbo and give the relationship a chance, and the Avengers say, okay, bye.
Yeah, and this is alluded to in the Avengers Annual, isn't it? We looked at that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So she gives the speech at the end.
I think so. I mean, the art by George Perez, awesome as always, but I wonder, and I haven't done a lot of research and I haven't read a lot of interviews with the creators of this book. How many of them have kind of tried to disassociate themselves from this story, or have come out to try to explain it, or to try to defend it? I mean, can they? I don't think at this point they can.
No, I think this is an absolute. It's just a bad idea, and I'm not just saying that because I absolutely love the idea. I love Captain Marvel or Miss Marvel, as it was back then. I love Carol Danvers. I thought she was class. Yeah. I still think she's pretty cool now. So I've gone through the various different iterations of Captain Marvel or Miss Marvel, depending on how you want to say it. This book. Just awful.
So, here's another thing: is I didn't read this book until probably 5 or 6 years after it was published. Do you guys remember when this book came out? If there was an outrage, was there some kind of, at the time it came out, you were like, "Oh my God, what is this crazy stuff?"
Well, I'm going to be blunt and honest with you. I don't remember this book. The time I was reading Avengers, it was the Taskmaster's first appearance, because I remember the cover. I never saw, as a kid, I never read Avengers 200. I own this book in my collection because I saw some online stuff telling me how bad this book was. I was like, you've got to be kidding, it can't be that bad, surely to God. And I paid something like a couple of pounds for it on a certain site. I've got it. I read it, and I've never looked at it since. It's up there in my bookcase, but I've never looked at it since.
Well, so I can tell you, when I was much younger, the only reason myself or any of my friends would have bought this issue would have been, okay, it's a milestone issue in number 200. Mm-hmm. You see, at the time, a favorite lineup of Avengers with a fantastic cover, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But no one understood what the story inside was at the time. As far as for anybody that was young and reading this, for older folks, they knew what the hell was going on, but they didn't have the benefit of the internet and social media as we do today to kind of really vent out and make their outrage heard. So to me, if I've met collectors that strictly go after milestone issues, and why wouldn't you go after this? It's a 200, it's an Avengers, and this creative lineup, they have produced good Avengers tales and works and what have you. But here, there's nothing that I can say to justify getting this book at all. The fact that the first opening page, where you have, Carol Danvers pretty much on the table facing the window while the Avengers look in, is ridiculous. And then when the baby is born, hey, can we come in right now? Like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like seriously, and then the fact that the Avengers themselves, the lineup here, it's like the level of self-centeredness here is just off the charts.
Is that Don Blake delivering the baby too? Because he's not
Yes.
Right. That kind of a doctor.
No, he's not.
He's seen enough Grey's Anatomy to know what's going on. He's all right.
Yeah, he's a doctor. He must know. So there's a level of ignorance there. Then the child is born, and a couple of them maybe are skeptical, like Hawkeye. That personality trait stays true. Captain America wants to investigate, but I think his reaction was everyone's reaction when he's asking him, where did you come from, and things like that. And then his my mother, and then all this stuff, and he's like, whoa, wait a minute now, and he's his own father, and they couldn't understand that, at least then. But I again, this was a unspeakable what they did, as far as a story and a plot, and how this got approved is beyond me. I think it would have made sense if you want to use Immortus or the son of Immortus in some other way. Maybe it would make more sense that he wants to try to control time, and as usual, per Immortus's MO, who is also a future self of Kang the Conqueror, a known Avengers villain and villain of the timeline. Like, this is the best you could do.
You know what this would have worked better as, and I'm, maybe not, but like if this was like the first or second season of Star Trek, the original series, and the Ms. Marvel character was just some crew person.
You shouldn't be careful what you wish. Be careful for what you wish for. There's an episode of Star Trek Next Generation called The Child, in which Deanna Troi becomes pregnant by some space entity, has a child that grows up super quick, and ends up flying off into space to be a space entity again. Honestly, it's really in there. Yep.
Okay.
I'm going to say I'm a Trekkie, so I'm going off memory. It's season 2. It's early doors. It might even be episode 1, season 2, but it's called The Child, and I remember the episode so vividly because my mum was going through a miscarriage at the time, and I hate that episode.
Huh. Well, hey, that's why. Like, it would make more sense if there was a science fiction episode of something. But this was the Avengers, and Ms. Marvel was a member of the Avengers, one of the major characters in the book. And this was just a way for Jim Shooter to write her out of the series. It was. I think it was a character assassination of the highest order.
Well, in that case, I'm glad Claremont came back to Avengers number 10 to put things right.
I was just going to mention that. I mean, how else? Again, when they wrote themselves, actually, let me take that back. They plotted themselves into a corner, and it was so hard. Like, how do you get that out? And not only that, years later, you'd see it somewhat again with like the Beyonder. Oh, I want to be human. Let me just do something and actually make myself human, and then he gets killed. It's like, so to put a child in that position, never mind in here with the son of Immortus, like, a chip off the old block with Immortus meeting Marcus's mother. Let me just pluck someone out of time and bring them with me and make them like me. So chip off the old block for Marcus, except he took it to the next level. So it's, it's a shame. And Professor, we've spoken with Jim Shooter before, and it's like, it's almost like an unspoken thing. You don't ever want to bring this up because it's not even worth it. Like, it really isn't.
I'd bring it up if I met Jim Shooter. I'd bring it up. I know he did a lot of good for Marvel. I absolutely totally get that, but I would want to know because But hey, no,
explain yourself.
Yeah. He'd be like, I don't have to explain myself to the likes of you. Or maybe he won't. Maybe he's a nice guy and he'll actually talk about it. Who knows?
I don't think there's anything that he won't talk about. He's pretty gabby.
You haven't. All right, cool. There you go then. The most tainted of tainted loves. Oh. To end us on the show. There we are. If you have suggestions to other tainted loves you'd like us to have a look at, by all means, send us a message on the Old Timers Comic Book Show Twitter.
I strongly believe that we can have a part 2 on this subject.
You think?
I believe so.
I think also that you would be correct on that. Let me just get where is the banner? Where is the banner? So we'll get that going. Nope, it's not on there. I keep moving my banners around. It's not very professional of me. I'm sorry. Old Timers banners. There it is. Boom. There you go. So there's all our Twitter feeds across the bottom there. By all means, hashtag contact any of us to get your tainted loves or aired on the show, and we'll certainly have a look at those for you. These can't be the only tainted loves that kick around the universes. So yeah, cool. Hope you enjoyed the show. Professor, don't forget to check out UCPN for your latest shows, including
No Prize Podcast, all about Marvel Comics.
Okay.
Except Avengers 200.
We don't talk about that.
Our Heroes Reborn.
We might be talking about that.
Yeah.
Nothing good.
Wow. You might be surprised. Check out, for all you new comic book fans, check out Night Gwen out at this time of airing. It's not a bad little read, especially if you like Batgirl. And of course, the Definitive Crusade for everything that is DC related. All right. A quick shout out as well. Check out our sister show, Outside the Panels, because the Professor and I had the chance to interview Mr. Jim Starlin. His latest book, Kickstarter Dreadstar. And I will say right now, hats off, because my questions came from the 13th Crusader, because he wasn't able to make the show. So there you go.
Oh, no.
So go check that out as well. Excellent, guys. Thanks very much. I guess all that's left for me to say is, as always, check out UCPN, and we'll see you in a fortnight. Adios.
Bye.